Hey Jacques, how's it going?
Hey Donovan, long time no chat, man. How you doing?
No, I'm doing very well, very well. It has been some time since we've actually been able to get together. I know we're both quite busy at the moment.
Yeah, life's taking over, but things are carrying on, and I'm glad. Yeah, it's nice chatting to you again.
Yeah, no, it has been some time, and I think we've got quite a lot to talk about, so which is quite nice.
Yeah. There's quite a bit. I mean, I think we've somehow missed 4 games already. It almost seems unreal, but I don't know. Maybe time's just flying too fast. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, let's go for it.
Okay. Well, I think what we'll do is let's look at the obviously there's 4 games left in the Super Rugby season, and I'm fairly concerned because obviously there's three away matches and the Bulls are not known to travel very well. So just to because I wrote down for the African Conference, what games are happening, and we just want to discuss what the chances are. If we obviously don't make the quarterfinals, has it still been a successful season? Those kind of things. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough run into the playoffs. Having looked at it myself as well, it looks like in the South African Conference, the Jags have the best run into the playoff. It would be quite amazing if anybody pips them to the line. In saying that, I think the South African Conference is the well, it's not the strongest conference, but it's got the most representatives in the top 8 at the moment.
Yeah,
which is surprising actually, but it's great. And for that reason alone, I think the Bulls are definitely in with a shot.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a great positioning if what happens, what we think might happen. Like you say, we've got 3 games that's on tour this weekend, obviously being the second one on tour, and then 2 New Zealand games. Honestly, I mean, for the Bulls' sake, I really hope they can beat the Brumbies to start off with.
Yeah.
And then it's a tough one because the Blues seem better this year, and the Chiefs, you don't know what to get. You don't know what you're getting. So I think if the Bulls can get another win, I mean, they got their first win in 3 years or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
This past weekend against the Rebels. If they can get another one against the Brumbies, which I think is doable, it's going to be tough. But after the win against the Rebels, the confidence levels must hopefully be there, and hopefully we can break this current trend that we've got. This that's bugging me almost more than anything else. It's this win lose trend.
I noticed it straight away.
Yeah, so if that trend continues, then we're not going to win against the Brumbies. So it's time that the boys stand up and break that trend to start things off.
I was looking at the last. Sorry, carry on.
No, I just wanted to say, if they can beat the Brumbies, I mean, coming off 2 wins on tour, away from home, far away from home, that's going to set them up for possibly, something good. And if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember if it was last year, but I think it was last year. The Bulls had an excellent game against the Chiefs. It went a bit pear-shaped at the end.
Yeah,
but they had a chance to win that game. They were very much in that game until well after half time. Yeah. So if that's still in the mind, and with the current team that they're playing with, the confidence must be there that they can do it.
Yeah.
But we need 2 more wins on tour. I think that's going to put us into the playoffs.
Yeah, I was looking at it and I was going, obviously, the 2 games that they must have, they're obviously going after the 2 Australian games. So it would have been the Rebels, to beat the Rebels and to beat the Brumbies. Also, it's the last game with Dwayne Vermeulen, because obviously Dwayne Vermeulen flies back and Andre Pollard's probably not going to be available for the Blues Highlanders games. So it's a must-win game on the weekend with the Brumbies. It is an absolute must-win. If they obviously want to make it to some form of knockouts. And then I think the Highlanders might also be an interesting kind of game because it is at Forsyth Bar, so it's going to be a dry stadium. It's going to be completely dry underfoot. It's not there's no slippery ball or anything like that. So that might be another game that they could go after. But I'm in two minds with you. Absolute agreement. They have to beat the Brumbies. It's an absolute must-win game. If they don't win against the Brumbies, then I think that could possibly be the season over. And in the last 3 games, they've got to pick up at least a bonus point each game, even if it's a losing bonus point. That would give them 7 points. It'll probably put them in the running for in one of the top 8 spots.
Yeah. Of course, I mean, our last game, which is unfortunately the weekend right after we returned from tour, is against the Lions, which fortunately is at Loftus. But the Lions have upped their game since the beginning of the season. So
they actually have.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's no matter which way we look at it, it's going to be a tough run into the playoffs. And I believe it's going to be either one of 2 things. We're either just going to miss it or we're just going to scrape it. Unless, like I said, we can get 2 wins on tour. And then we have to win that game against the Lions. We just have to. That game's going to be a deciding game for either team.
Yeah. Looking at last year, I think last year we only won 6 games. So we already I think we won 7 this year already. So it's already been a better season than last year. And generally from around 4 last year, we knew that the Bulls weren't going to make it. 4-5. Now at least we're at round 12, and it looks, we've still got a chance.
Yeah. Look, I mean, sorry, I think I got my things a bit wrong there. I thought we were playing the Chiefs for some reason. We played the Chiefs at Loftus. That's when we got a walloping.
Yeah.
So, I actually missed the Islanders game there. I knew it was the Blues. It's going to be tough. I mean, all the New Zealand teams are. Sorry, we just want to say goodbye there. Anyway, all the New Zealand teams, bar the Crusaders, have been up and down. So, but we haven't done well against any of the New Zealand teams who we've played so far, even though it was at home, which is even more concerning.
Do you think it's a belief thing?
Sorry?
Do you think it's a belief thing?
I can't believe that it's a belief thing, because surely when you're playing at home, you've got more belief in yourself than anything else. What I can't understand is this trend that I mentioned just now, where we up one week and we down another week. Yeah. Surely the team knows this. The management knows this, and they're doing something to get the guys out of that rut. Not that I'm saying they are in a rut, but it's just funny how it's going: win, lose, win, lose, win, lose the whole time. And if we need to break it this weekend, because it means that we will get a win, which means positive. It's just to think that Andre and Dwayne is leaving. It just boggles my mind, honestly. I don't know. It's almost like, and I mean, it's happening to the New Zealand teams as well. They're also resting players when it seems to matter the most.
I'm sure
Beauden Barrett, against the Jags, and look what happened.
Yeah.
I was actually telling someone, maybe when you're playing the Jags, you don't rest any players. You look at your calendar for the year, and you make sure you've got your best team available for that game, because that's the game that all the Jags are winning. They're getting the better of everyone else because they're resting their best players. But I just don't see what's the point of this competition. I know it's a World Cup year. Yes, I understand there's a bigger picture. But then shouldn't we look at the Super Rugby tournament the same way that we look at the Rugby Championship in a World Cup year, where it's a shortened tournament?
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do it, but it won't make sense because you're already not playing everybody. And look, I mean, next year the format changes, so we'll have to wait and see till the next World Cup comes around what they're going to do then.
Is it changed?
But I just think it's unfair. Yeah, they're going back to the Super 14. You know, it's only 14 teams going to be playing, which is better for the competition, I think.
I think so.
And I mean, it's a more fair competition because you're getting to play everybody. You know, so at the end of the day, the winner is deservedly a winner, and you're not somehow ending up winning a tournament and you possibly didn't play 2 teams. You know, so much of a muchness. I just think, you know, if World Cups are going to take preference over all tournaments, other tournaments, then, you know, one needs to relook at that side of the tournament again, and just figure out how you can make it better. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, yes, it's happening to all the teams. Everybody is resting players, but ultimately, because of resting players, it could cost you playoff spots. And then, like your question was, how do we judge the Bulls at the end of the season then if they just miss out on the playoffs? Do we think they had a successful season? Do we base it on the fact, like you just said, we've won more games already this year than last year? That is a reason to say that they've been successful. But at what is the rate that we're measuring success at? Are we only measuring it at number of games won, or are we measuring it at where do we actually get in the tournament, you know, as in playoff wise? Can we get to the semi-finals? You know, I think that is, for me, that is a better measuring point. Because if you're only measuring yourself at how many games you can win, then obviously you're not aiming to win the tournament. You're just looking at how many W's you can get next to your name. Yes, which ultimately gets you there, but you know, it's a mentality thing. It is a mentality thing, definitely. And look, I just hope the guys can do it this weekend. That's the biggest thing. It will really set them up, because the first game in New Zealand will be against the Blues. It's hard to say between the Blues and the Highlanders who would you target. So I don't know. If you would ask me that question now, I would honestly not be able to answer you, because they both, to me, have up and down seasons.
Well, I know when I started the season, I'm not sure if we discussed it or we discussed it somewhere, but I remember at the start of the season that I would say it was a successful season if we made the playoffs.
Yes.
I'm not saying we would get past the quarters. I don't think I'm not 100% sure if we could get past the quarters. If we had a home a home quarters, then maybe. But chances are, if we come in at 8th spot, probably got to travel all the way to Christchurch. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
You come in at 7th spot.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. It's either a home quarterfinal or bust.
If you come in at 7th spot, then you're probably going to go play the Jaguares. You got to go all the way to Argentina, 24-hour flight, which is a difficult place to play. Come in at 6th spot, you got to go play one of the Australian sides, so it's just traveling. So, yeah, well, for me,
looking at it that way, then I'd say either home or 6th spot.
Yes, I think that's going to be the goal.
Because the Australian sides, I think, are definitely easier than the New Zealand teams to beat. You know, they're not easy to beat, but they are easier.
Yeah.
So I think the weekend's game against the Rebels was a good example of that. I mean, I think you obviously watched the match, so
yes.
It was kind of interesting watching the game. The emotions that went through, you know, watching it. It's like kind of like I felt we started well, even though they scored first, and then we came back. So and we kept in the game, which I thought was well. And then at some stage, it kind of it felt to me like we're starting to slip, and this is it's just going to go pear-shaped. But then suddenly it turned, and it just turned for the better. And I mean, you know, that was very what's the word? It was very nice to see. You know, sorry, I forgot the word that I wanted to use, but you know, it was good to see that kind of shift in a match. Where, like you said just now, you know, is it a matter of belief? And I think like the boys actually believed that they could do it, because just before halftime, I think it started to look like things might be slipping a little bit, and and then they obviously got a good pep talk at halftime, which I think they've had a few this season. But like I say again, we need to get out of this current trend of win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, and as soon as we can do that, that might just be the thing that we need.
Well, obviously, to win this tournament, you have to win 3 games in a row at the end. So it's just a given. The one thing I did like about Saturday's game was I thought they took they took Guinea out of the game completely. Yeah. They lessened his space. Without Guinea, Quade Cooper is way not that great. He needs good feeder, a good feeder player. And so I thought from a understanding the opposition point of view, the way that the Crusaders come into a game, they watch the other team, they play to beat the other team, not play the way that they want to play. And that's the beauty of the Crusaders. And I thought for the first time in a long time, I actually saw the Bulls actually playing tactically. They saw if Guinea doesn't have the space, the Rebels just aren't the same side, and it showed on the weekend. It literally did show on the weekend. It was good to see. The one thing I did notice about the game that I've been noticing it for a while is there hasn't been a lot of player rotation. So I look at our props. The props are starting to look tired, and Lizo and Trevor have probably been the most informed props this year. They really have. And Super Rugby and the South African sides, they have been the best. And it just looks like, because they've started every single game, they play 65, 70 minutes. And here, they need to rest. They need to come in the last 20 minutes, or they need to actually not play at all. Even though this is the business end of the competition, it just seems like it just hasn't been managed that well. It looks like Putter wanted to win earlier games, and that's why he kept the Springboks playing for a lot longer. And now he has to let them rest. He has to play the 2 props, and they're starting to look tired, and they need a weekend off. And without those 2 props, that scrum from the Bulls is just not the same.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, our backup props are nowhere near the standard of Lizo and Trevor.
No. But Tanzima's not too bad, but he's more an impact player nowadays.
Who's that? Sorry?
But Tanzima.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Lucas, I was actually watching one of the replays today of the match, and I saw what's his name, Conrad van Vieren, actually being back on the park. And he's the one that had that incident at Loftus where they got that yellow card that ultimately, well, that didn't cost us a game. Remember, who did we play? We had 2 yellow cards at the end of the match, and we lost the match. Remember, we were leading 20-10 with less than 10 minutes to go. I think it was an Australian team. Or no, was it the Jags? Sorry, it was the Jags. That game against the Jags.
Yeah.
And we ended up losing that match because he got pinned, and that was the second yellow card that we had. We ended up with 13 men on the field with only a few minutes left. But I mean, the Jags had already passed us before he got the yellow card. But still, it would be harsh for me to say I've got no faith in him, but I don't have a lot of trust in his scrumming ability. I've seen it for the last 2 years already. I don't think he's cut out to be what they said he is. Matanzima is very, very new. Although he's very committed.
He's not ready to start.
He's not, but he's got the heart. And I think any player that's got heart at least gives you something back. It's scary to a thought to think that we have to rest both Trevor and Lizo at some stage. Can we risk it at the same time? I don't think we can. They haven't rested yet, so when is that trigger going to be pulled? So that is obviously the thing that's concerning. I think the team will be coming out tomorrow probably. So it's going to be interesting to see if this is the game that Puerto is going to rest some guys, because surely against the New Zealand teams, you're not going to be resting guys. But if you're saying Andre and Dwayne is coming back home,
Andre might be available for one of the games, but I think with most of the Springboks coming from Europe, they're coming down because their season's over. I think the camps are going to start fairly soon. So Rusty's going to pull the players, and but I think he has warned all the coaches that that's what's going to happen. So you've got to manage the team, you've got to manage those Springboks before they actually get to the business end of the competition, because not having Andre Pollard and Dwayne Vermeulen for probably the two most important games of the season, playing in New Zealand, just seems strange.
You're already missing Jesse, which is we end up back to where we
training.
Yeah, that's unbelievable to see the way he's training at the moment. The video clips that's being put on Twitter and Instagram and stuff. I mean, the man is like he's like a machine. I mean, you can clearly see Jesse is telling Rassie, listen, I'm going to the World Cup, whether you like it or not, which is great to see. That's the kind of commitment we need from our players. But it shouldn't be about going to the World Cup. It should be about what happens on the field at the end of the day, rather than just having a nice trip to a World Cup or whatever the case may be. But it's just good to see. I think I actually told someone today, seeing, because these video clips are coming through more frequently, and I mean, if I see the way that Jesse is training, I think he's going to be back sooner than what they maybe thought he would be. And knowing Jesse is one of the fittest players in South Africa, and I mean, I think the fitter you are, the quicker you heal. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jesse back for the Rugby Championship, which a lot of people have written him off for.
Look, I agree with you. I do think Jesse Kriel is probably one of the fittest, if not fittest, players playing in Super Rugby. If I'm trying to think, the guys with the really big engines, the Ardie Severes that can just keep on going forever. I'd still say Jesse Kriel is probably the physically strongest, fittest player.
Yeah.
So
I think I agree 100% with you. It was actually, when you mentioned Ardie's name now, it came to mind. I don't know if you watched that Hurricanes Jags game on the weekend. And interesting enough, now that you mentioned Ardie Severe, I don't know if you noticed how tired he was at one point in that match. It just shows you the Jags are really, if you play against them, and that's something else I noticed as well against the New Zealand teams, which unfortunately, just looking ahead to the box, it's an interesting thing that I've picked up, that a lot of the New Zealand teams, they don't like the physicality. They don't like it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like as soon as you get physical against them, you get under their skins, and it hurts them. They don't like that. So, I mean, it's just an interesting thing that I've picked up. And I really hope, that the box are also seeing these things, unless I'm just imagining stuff. But clearly, as soon as you get physical against any New Zealand team, it seems to pay off, in some way or another. So, I think, we saw it against, the Sharks, the way they defended, and when they played the Crusaders in Christchurch, pulled off a draw. The Stormers also, they played very, very well. And if you look at the way they were tackling, it was hard. So it's a physical game. If you want to, clearly that's a strategy that needs to be considered against the New Zealand teams and possibly the All Blacks.
No, I agree. Especially if I looked at the Sharks game, because I thought the Sharks were tactically better when they played against the Crusaders than what the Stormers were.
Yeah.
I thought the Sharks, the defense and their rush defense was just amazing, and the beauty of it, obviously, with your rush defense, you got to have first time tackles. That's just a given. So I just think they lessened that space. Look, with the Sharks game here, I know they didn't have Richie Mo'unga, which is he's a big thing for the Crusaders. He can play on back football. You can see it now. You know, when he played against the Stormers, they were on back. A lot of the time they were on the back foot, and he could still do the cross kicks. He can still do all those kind of things. The guy's a special player. But you're absolutely right. You have to be in their faces. You have to be confrontational. You have to be physical, and there must be no space. Absolutely no space. So
100%.
I think it's a blueprint that we should use going forward. And I think it started with Rassie. I think it's Brendan Venter who's the defense coach for the Springboks.
No. Brendan Venter isn't part of this box setup anymore. Defense coach. I actually forgot who the coach is.
Yeah,
it's Gondile Stick. Who's the other guy? But defense coach, it's that Jock Nienaber.
Yeah, that's it. Sorry, Cheapers. I really like the new defensive structures that he started introducing, and you can see it starting to filter in the Super Rugby sides because it's starting to work.
Remember, he was with the Stormers all those years.
Yeah.
When nobody could score, when nobody could score against them, with Alistair, when Rassie was the director of rugby at the Stormers. So I mean, they've come a long road together. And I remember when Rassie was appointed, that was part of the deal as well. You know, that he was going to bring Jacques Nienaber with him, who he took with him to where was he, at Ulster or no Munster, sorry, and I remember a lot of the pundits were saying, but we just got to remember, because at that stage our Bok defense was almost nowhere, and they still said, we're going to have to give it about a year or so before Jacques' structures would really come into place. So I mean, that was a year ago, and I think this year we might just see all of it come together, hopefully in time for the World Cup, because I remember 2007. That was Jake White's biggest thing. He nagged on it that defense will win you the World Cup, and it ultimately did. But you can't just defend; you have to score as well.
Well, the one thing that I've found quite lacking in South African rugby, especially probably since Heineke Meyer's days, is we haven't had, we're a tier 1 nation, and we've won 2 World Cups. We're supposed to be, we're one of, I think, 3 teams that have been world number 1, and we should be a nation or a rugby nation that's an innovator, and we haven't innovated for so long on attack or defense or anything. And you could see, you could progressively see the slide in our rugby from when we played Japan in the World Cup. It's just started going downhill. And I think the nice thing with Jacques Nienaber is actually we're starting to innovate again. And yes, it's defense, but at least it's some kind of innovation.
No, I agree 100% with you.
But yeah, let's try to get back to the Bulls. So let's move on. There's been a lot of talk lately, obviously with all the players leaving. I think today was Liebenberg, or yesterday I saw in the news, or the last couple of days I saw Liebenberg's the next player that's going. I think, who else are we losing? We're losing Liebenberg, Pollard, he's going.
Well, it's Lewitt, Andre, Liebenberg. Sorry?
Archie Snyman.
Yeah, Archie. Jason Jenkins is going. I'm just trying to go through the team. Who else is there? There's the scrum offs are okay. JC is going. I think I'm on 6 names now already. I don't think. The rest seem. I know Warwick recently. Well, I'm saying recently. It was either beginning of this year or end of last year. He re-signed for another 3 years or something till 2021 or somewhere there. I can't remember now. Winger wise, I think we're okay as well. And then I'm not 100% sure how correct it is, but I've heard rumors that the Bulls are in talks with Schalk Brits to try and keep him for another year. I think it's more because of the experience and just trying to keep that senior, because we're losing so many seniors, that, you need to try and keep something there. So I know, well, I can't say for a fact that it's for certain, but I heard a rumor from a pretty reliable source that they are in talks with Schalk, who is apparently he's apparently got a job with Remgrow, which is supposed to start next year. And now Remgrow is I'm not sure if it's a 51% or something like that shareholder of the Bulls, which might make it a bit possible for them to say, well, it's cool, he can play another year, because at the moment it seems, from what I've heard, that is the only issue in the negotiation at the moment, is whether Remgrow will allow Schalk to play another year when he's actually supposed to start working for them. And then obviously we know that Morne Steyn is coming back, which I'm ecstatic about. I know he's old, but you know what? I think Morne has more than proven himself as a legend, and it's not a sympathy or a emotional ecstaticness. I think he's a player of quality that's been underrated by not just I don't want to say the Bulls. I think more by this South African supporters, which is very, very, very sad for me. But and to be quite honest, I'm not even a Morne Steyn fan. But you know what? His credentials speak for themselves, and the fact that he signed a 2-year contract is a great thing for the Bulls.
Well, yeah, because I was quite concerned about the player drain. I thought it was quite bad, because I'm pretty happy that Morne Steyn's coming. I actually watched Montpellier play.
Start Francais.
Yeah, I watched that on the weekend, and I was very happy with Morne Steyn. I thought he was playing 15 in that game, and I was very
because
impressed.
Of Sanchez. That's the reason why he's playing 15.
Yeah.
So Heineke can't actually accommodate him at 10 at the moment, but it's great to see that Heineke is willing to actually still play him, even though he's playing at 15. I mean, you've got a guy like that. I mean, why not play him? Why do you want to keep a guy like that on the bench, And I mean, you got Sanchez as well. So you got 2 world-class players in your team. It would be idiotic to have one of them on the bench and only give him 20 minutes or so. And I mean, these guys are playing for, I don't know if that was a semi-final or what it was, but I know they were playing for playoff spots or something. But I just think Morne is permanent class. I think coming back, I think it might just be the thing that he needs. I know he wants to. It's his swan song, so he's obviously coming to Loftus with the idea to retire. But I'm sure he's not going to come to Loftus just sitting back, waiting for his time to run out. I think he's going to make the best of the 2 years he's got. He's had the best years of his life at Loftus, so why not rejuvenate it again? So I mean, it would be awesome, if 1 or 2 other players can decide to come back as well.
No, it's because I was going through it, and I was concerned, and then I actually had to think about it. I was going, because I remember you saying in a conversation we had the other day that they might be keeping Schalk if they can. If that's the case, then if I look at the spine of the team, the only real player that's going is Handré Pollard, and if he's swapped with the Morne Steyn, it's not a real big step down. There's 2 world-class, an older world-class players swapping with a younger world-class player. So we've still got Schalk Brits if he stays, Dwayne Vermeulen, Papier.
Well, Dwayne, I'm not sure about, because as far as I know, Dwayne only signed for a year. But maybe, hopefully, let's see. Hopefully something happens, or he's enjoying his time in Pretoria enough that he decides to stick around another year. Why not? But I know when he initially signed, look, he's also very involved in Japan. So I don't know if it's going to go that route. But let's hope maybe something good happens and somehow Dwayne stays, because if it's Schalk, Dwayne, and Morne, I mean, you've got 3 key positions with 3 great guys of notable experience.
Well, let's try to think if Skulk Brits doesn't stay or Dwayne doesn't stay, and what's the replacement to them, and what's the step down? You know, because I know you're going from a Skulk Brits to I think it's Visagie, and then I don't even know who would go down to 8. Hey,
Visagie is going to Gloucester. But I don't see.
Who do you go from?
Look, that was already confirmed even before Super Rugby started. But the thing for me is, I don't see Visagie as a loss. I know they're seeing him off the Skulk only because of his senior role that he's playing. But that Johan Grobler, is it Johan Grobler or Grobler, whatever his surname is, he's actually a hell of a good scrummy hooker. And I don't know I know that Cornel Els that plays for the Pumas, that was at the Bulls in the beginning of the season, he was only on loan. But surely there must be something in the pipeline with him as well, you know, because I thought he was actually quite well. But I know the problem we have then is if there's no Skulk, there's no Jaco Visagie, then it means we're down to super juniors. But at the end of the day, we got to start somewhere. And, you know, unfortunately, if it's going to be building a new team with juniors, then that's how it's going to be. That's what the Lions did. And then, unfortunately, we're going to be back to waiting another 3-4 years, maybe, if not longer. But the way the player drain is happening, and which is not just the Bulls. I mean, you look at the Sharks. I mean, goodness me. You know, someone actually made a joke the other day and said maybe the Bulls and the Sharks just need to combine and make up one team, you know, because at the rate that those two teams are losing players, there's nothing going to be left over. So it's very concerning, not just from a Bulls perspective, but a South African perspective. It's scary. I mean, I honestly can't see what's the point of even, you know, carrying on. I mean, are you just carrying on because you are existing? You know, I mean, I'm saying a union now. Yeah. You're losing so many key players. It's not just you're losing any players, you're losing key players. Look at the Sharks, how many key players they are losing. So it's going to hit. Thankfully it's not just going to hit us, you know, the Bulls. It's going to hit other teams as well.
Look, but I do feel that it's going to hit Australia just as hard as us. New Zealand, it's still going to hit them, but New Zealand have got so much depth. You know, they you know, if I just look at 10s and 9s and hookers and props, you know, they've got such a pipeline that comes through. We should have the same pipeline, because if I look at Craven Vic and I look at Schoolboys Rugby, I even look at Varsity Cup. You know, we should have the pipeline. You know, the pipeline should be there, but it just doesn't seem to materialize after under 21s. Under 20s.
Well, I know that's been a big topic of discussion across social media of late. So, and nobody seems to have the right answer as to why it's happening. You know, where does that gap suddenly between senior rugby and, like you say, under 21? What happens after under 21? What that jump? It's almost like that bridge that's supposed to be there doesn't exist. You know. I mean, we look at, you just said it yourself, school, you know, the schools rugby. I mean, there's been numerous articles of late, guys from New Zealand. There was that schools festival held in Stellenbosch not too long ago. And the South African schools were dominating big New Zealand, well-known New Zealand schools. And the guys from New Zealand were saying, they were asking the questions. They actually started the whole debate as to, but if schools rugby is this strong in South Africa, what is happening? You know, why does it not filter through to the top? For me, there's one answer that definitely comes to mind. It's because we've got the wrong blueprint. That's why.
I think completely we have the wrong blueprint. Also, they were saying, obviously, with dropping the under-19 competition, you know, the players, when they leave school, they've got to wait quite a while before they get to the under-21s. And without that additional pathway, you know, that additional step where they have some kind of competition and earning some money and things like that, it becomes quite difficult. That's a huge big void. So
yeah,
these guys are being. I saw an interesting article quite a while ago with Montpellier doing a bursaries at Gray's College, and you can't tell me that they're not watching the players from Gray's College and snapping them up before they hit 19. Well, they're gone.
Well, I don't know if you saw. That. I'm not sure what school he plays for. It's one of the Cape. I think it's one of the Cape Town schools. Because I know he was in the Western Province Craven Week team. That Voliter, that fly off.
Yeah.
He's on his way to Montpellier. So that is quite. You're talking about a Springbok player and a junior or schools rugby player already being signed by Montpellier. That is huge.
Well, I still think that no transfer should happen before players turn 21. I just think I just think they're still too young and they're still in the infancy systems. But look, I can't blame somebody for going, because to go play in the second league in France, you're going to earn a hell of a lot more than playing in the second league in South Africa. So you're probably going to earn more than playing in the Currie Cup or probably even some Super Rugby teams.
Yeah.
You know, second division, top 14, you're going to still be earning a hell of a lot of money.
Well, when I heard what Andre was being offered, I mean, you can't. You got to actually.
I think Andre going is a good thing. I honestly feel for Andre and for South African rugby. I think Andre going to go play in France, I think it's a good thing. I think he's going to learn different kind of skills. They play a really different tactical game up north. I think it'll benefit him the most. We just need to get him back when he turns 30 or something like that, when he's peaking, coming to play back in South Africa to try give us that IP back.
My only question is with that exuberant kind of money that you're earning, which was mentioned at 20 million rand a year for 3 years. Do you think a player like that would still have the desire to even play for the Boks?
Look, I think
that's retirement money.
No, of course, I agree. But, you eventually start hitting your 30s, you're not going to be earning the 30 million or 20 million rand a year. You're probably going to be earning 10 or whatever, half that even. And, you come back to South Africa, you'll still be the top fly half. You still could probably earn 3-4, probably 5 million rand with with both contracts, the Springbok contract and with your Super Rugby contract.
Well, I spoke to someone. I don't know if it was you but I spoke to someone actually. I don't think it was you that told me. So there's a whole idea with Rassie, this plan that he's got by contracting, X amount of players and stuff. At the moment, I can tell you that Beast is the highest earning South African rugby player in the country.
Yeah.
And between the Sharks and Saru, he's earning 10 million. Okay, that's per year. When this thing of Rassie is going to come into effect, the highest paid player will be lucky to get about 7 million, which is nothing.
It is
in
nothing.
comparison to what the guys are getting overseas. And that's why we're sitting with all these oaks suddenly ducking all at one go, because they're seeing what Rassie wants to offer them. They're seeing whether they are first choice or second choice player, and then the decision is made for them. I'll rather go overseas and earn euros and probably earn way more than I would have earned even if I was a first-year Springbok.
Yeah, look, I don't know what the solution is. There's huge, big economic reasons that why the rand is so weak. That's out of our control. It's probably out of our country's control as well. So I think, look, at the end of the day, the guys are going to go. I've always felt that maybe we should start partnering, like the Bulls should partner with the team up at the Premiership. So some kind of swap where the players go play. They can go on loan quite easily up north for a couple of games. They come back. like go to Sale Sharks or one of them, and then say, okay, you get access to the players, you get them very, very quick. You get a hooker that gets injured, we'll send up this person. They trained in a similar kind of way. I think that's the only way to go forward is to actually start partnering with clubs up north.
Well, that's the one way, and then the other way is something that I think is going to happen in the next few years, is basically commercializing the game. What I mean by that is obviously the unions aren't unions anymore, and they get bought by private entities, like you have in England, basically. Your Saracens and all those things that are basically owned, privatized and owned by big consortiums or companies or corporate things or whatever. Guys that have money, and then suddenly, and then sorry, it's just sorry on their own.
They're responsible for the Springboks, and that's it. And obviously all the other levels.
Yes, exactly. So that's. I like your idea as well. I just don't know if your idea necessarily is going to keep players in our country. But I hear what you're saying.
I'm thinking maybe not keeping them in the country, but trying to work with. I had this idea. Look, it's time to start thinking outside of the box.
Yes.
So it's like saying, yeah. I'm going to give an example. You say to Sale or whatever, say, look, here's Malcolm Marx. You would have paid £1 million. You would have paid £1 million for him. Let's be honest, you would have. And obviously, when you've got a salary cap for your whole team, yes, he may be a marquee player, but so you've got a salary cap. You say you pay half his salary, Saru pays the other half, and then we have access to him when we pay internationals.
Yeah.
So they're getting a player for half the price. We still keep them. Yes, it's costing us a little bit more, but we have complete access.
Yeah, no, it does make sense.
It's time to actually now start thinking. Hey, there's no thoughts that are wrong.
Out of the box.
No thoughts that are wrong. Just because whatever we're doing at the moment is not working.
Yep, 100%. It's not.
But let's try and get back to the Bulls. Because the show is about them.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to pull up about the Bulls?
Look, it's so difficult because one week they win and one week they lose, and it's funny, when they win you've got nothing to say, but when they lose you've got everything to say.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. We posted for people to ask some questions that we could maybe discuss, and it was funny. Like I say, the Bulls win and nobody says a word, but let the Bulls dare lose, and then you get a list like this,
So we might have something to talk about next week.
Yeah, we probably. Well, let's hope we don't. Let's rather hope we don't. So it's better if we don't, maybe, then we can talk about other things. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, I think the guys have come off a great win. It sounds like the vibe over there at the moment is good. I saw the guys all had some great time on Sunday. They all went their separate ways in and around Melbourne. I saw a bunch of guys rented a boat, and they had snacks and beers and the works, and they just had a great time. And I think it's nice. I actually saw an interview with Schalk Brits where you mentioned, it's rugby, is supposed to be fun, and I think that's a big thing a lot of teams sometimes miss, is just to go and have fun. And while you're overseas, while you're away from the wife and the girlfriends, you know what? Have fun. But the guys just need to, yes, they need to be serious. But at the end of the day, if you enjoy what you do, you're going to have, you're going to be more successful. And I think the guys are having a good time, and they obviously they are training hard and stuff. But I just think after the win they had against the Rebels, which I don't think a lot of people gave them a chance to win. Thankfully, I went Bulls by 3.
I got four out of 6 in my Super Brew this weekend.
Well, I only got 2 out of 6. I was quite shocked. I was very shocked.
I was watching another show, and what's the guy in New Zealand, Driving Mall, and they were saying on their show that only one person in the entire world got a Grand Slam.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, it was quite.
That must have been luck, honestly. Hopefully, Super Brew gave that guy something. Because if only one person gets something like that, then you should deserve a prize. But
actually, I was
shocked. I didn't realize I did that bad.
I was actually thinking I had
better than the rest of the world, apparently. Because Super Brew send you on a Monday, they send you a mail to say how you did for the weekend. And I mean, I got this mail. I almost thought I won a prize or something because it said congratulations. I was like, I've never got a mail like this in my life. And then I opened it only to see I got 2 out of 6 correct, which was still better than, apparently the average was 1.9 or something, or 1.8 out of 6. So I was shocked that I did so bad, but I was even more shocked to see that the rest of the world did so bad, or that did worse than me. So yeah, it was. I didn't see the weekend ahead of the weekend. I didn't think it was going to be that tough.
I think I jumped 3,500 spots in the Blue Bulls pool.
You mean up?
Yeah.
I think I haven't looked at it that way, but I think looking at how I did, I probably went down. So
sorry, one last question before we sign off. I was thinking just take 2 players. Who's really like impressed you, but I mean that you weren't really happy with, and that now's really started impressing you, and who do you think needs a little bit more work?
So off the cuff, Burger Odendaal started the season off for me not half as good as I think he could be, and I think he's become better and better. In fact, every weekend almost, I feel that he's the best back on the field. In the forwards, a name that does come to mind is Andro Liebenberg. I've noticed that when he does play, that loose trio of ours, I don't think the loose trio should be Andro, Dwayne, and Janus Kirsten. I like the one that we had this weekend, which, coming back to your earlier question of if Dwayne leaves, is I forgot his name, Skuman. Tier, I know his nickname is Tier. I forgot his name now, but unfortunately, anyway, so those 3 to me make quite a formidable loose trio, and I mean they're 3 seriously big guys, 3 great ball carriers as well, and but Andro, yeah, I think Andro and Burger Odendaal, or if I had 2 names that I had to throw out now, are guys that are really getting better week by week for me. I mean, I almost feel bad, not mentioning Trevor or Lizo, because I mean they've just been exceptional. But I'm just looking from a growth point of view as the season has gone. Like I said, I thought Burger started off poorly. I thought he was half the player that I know he can be, but he's really coming to his own. I just think he can work on his ball handling a bit. He loses and knocks on too easily. And it's always happening when we're in great positions to more than likely score. I can't remember the other part of your question now.
Who needs a little bit more work?
Oh, needs a little bit more work.
Like I'm trying to be nice here.
Yeah. Look, sure. He needs a little bit more work. That's a tough one, actually. Like you say, you don't want to be nasty or anything, but I mean, I think a guy like Janus Kirsten, I've mentioned him, and it's a guy to me that he plays way below his potential. and he's gotten a lot of flack for it. And I think over the years seeing him play, I think, well, from my side, I've seen him be a good player, but then I've seen him be a very, him being dismal at times. And unfortunately, at this level, for me, it's a matter of you've got to be consistently, up there. You can't be there and then there and then there. You've got to be up there the whole time. It's the only way you ever become a Springbok anyway. And to me, that's someone that's got the potential, but he's not playing to it at all. It's almost like he's in a comfort zone.
Well, I appreciate what you had to say there. I think it was quite hard to try to be nice, but fair. I agree with you 100%. At the start of the season, I couldn't stand Burger Odendaal. I just felt he went into contact too often. It just there wasn't a plan B. The plan A was going to contact and that's it. I call it the Andries Coetzee syndrome, and just going to contact. But now that with Jesse gone, he's stepped up. I think he's talking a lot more on the field. So he's communicating with the outside backs. He's communicating to Andre. So I think he has stepped up in the last 6 games. I'd say he's really, really, really stepped up.
I felt the change. I felt the change happened in that Sharks game in Durban. That's where I kind of felt things are changing, and where he started to. He actually broke the line. I mean, that's where that one try from, I think it was a Jesse came. I mean, that game kind of set the tone, and it's almost like I say, every week, to me, it feels like he's the man of the match from a back's point of view. I mean, there's no other back at the moment that's not even Andre. That's standing out the way that Burger does because of the work that he does, the commitment he has. Even that game against the Crusaders, if you go watch that game, it's like, to me, him and Dwayne were the only 2 guys that were trying. The rest of the team were nowhere.
Look, when it comes to the other one, probably my player of the season so far has been Lizo, but consistently good from the start to the finish. I'm not saying Trevor because Trevor is he should be a world-class player. He's been there, done it. He's got the T-shirt. The guy's played so many Springbok games. He should be what he is, a world-class player. And so I can't really say him, but Lizo I can say without a doubt. Don't shoot me down here. I really don't want you to shoot me down with the player that I'm going to say needs a little bit of work. I really don't want you to shoot me down. The one player that's disappointed me has been Warwick Gelant.
No, I'm not going to shoot you down at all. I've got a lot to say about Warwick.
When I saw Warwick Gelant come on the scene, I thought he was better than Damian Willemse. I really, really did. I thought the guy was magnificent. When I watched him play Currie Cup and what he did even last year when he was playing, the guy, he's got everything going for him, and it just seems like now in the talk, when we talk about going to the World Cup, the talk about is taking the third number 10 who will cover 15 will be Damian Willemse. Yeah. And I personally think that Warwick Gelant is a better player. And
I agree 100% with you. My biggest issue with Warwick at the moment is that 1 week is injured or is sick or something. And I mean, to me, it's becoming a problem. And that's where I actually had a chat somewhere or sometime, I think it might have been you and me, where we were saying, there are guys that have contracts, but they never play. Warwick, since last year, in 2017, he was the Currie Cup Player of the Year when he scored all those tries and stuff. And then he became a Springbok end of year 2 in that same year. And then suddenly last year came around and it was injury here, injury there. And this year, I think he's played half the games so far of what was there to play. And the sad thing, and it actually, as much as I say it's a sad thing, it annoys the dingers out of me is that when he plays, you see the difference in the Bulls.
Yes.
He adds that extra thing that we are missing. And then you take him away. I mean, I went to that. I actually was at the game, the Crusaders Bulls game. And on my way there, suddenly I hear on the radio that Warwick Galant has been withdrawn from the team. I almost turned my car around, honestly. It was like, to me, what's it worth going? Because I don't have anything against Devan Rousseau, but Devan Rousseau is not the same. He doesn't stand in the same circle for me, you know.
I just
agree.
feel
I don't know why you thought I would. I don't know why you thought I would have shot you down on that comment at all. No, I'm 100% behind you on that.
I just think he's not playing to his potential. I think he is a magnificent player. I think he understands.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with you, and that's why I say it's sad to say, but also in the same breath, it annoys me that 1 week is in and 1 week is out, and you see the difference in the team performance as well. Because whenever he plays, we are overperforming almost. You know, he's actually bringing a guy like Roscoe into the game where the rest of the guys don't. You know, that's another thing that blows my mind. Is like, don't these 15-man players, do they not watch the Blitzbox play? You know, is it only us supporters that watch them play? Because it feels like the guys are playing with these 7 stars, but they're not utilizing them. And against the Stormers, Roscoe got a ball, and he went through the middle, and he chipped. He tried the whole chip and, you know, chasing, which almost came off. And then what happened? What happened against the Rebels? You know, Andre gave him that quick pass. He ran down the line. He gave another chip, gathered the ball. I mean, that is sevens rugby. That's what it is. And a guy like that proves his worth. You know, actually, he was dropped at some stage in a season after that Sharks game, where he got a bit manhandled by, you know, Locanyo Am. And I actually got told that that's why he got dropped, because of his defense. And then I was actually quite shocked to hear that, because you know what? There's certain players, those X-factor players almost, I want to say, that they're an X-factor player because of one reason only. It's not because of their defense. There's no X-player or X-factor player in the world because of his defense. An X-factor player is someone that creates something from nothing. Defense is not that. And Roscoe is one of those players that can create something out of nothing. But you drop him because he's unreliable on defense. You know, I'm looking at this, and that's when I start questioning coaches. Because you as a coach should know better. You should say, I've got 14 other men on the field that can defend. I've got this one player that can create something out of nothing, but I'm dropping him because his defense is bad. I'm sorry. That is when I start asking questions about you as a coach, because what he's worth in his scoring ability or creating something from nothing, as I've been saying, is way more worth than one guy that can't defend. I'm sorry. It's risk and reward. That's what you call it.
Yeah,
and
Jacques,
for me, it should be on the field every single game of the season.
I think we've hit an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh my goodness! I don't see any clock here. So
yeah, I think we started at 7:49, I think, or something like that. So yeah, so just before 8. So Jacques, if people want to get in contact with you, how can they get in contact with you?
So I'm on social media, Instagram and Twitter, the Yellow Cap, and then we've also got a website called theyellowcap.com, where we do previews and we do a whole bunch of things there that people can read about, of different sports and stuff. So theyellowcap.com, and on social media, just the Yellow Cap.
Perfect. Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us tonight. It was the first time that we've done it live, so we're still probably learning. I think next time we might advertise it a little bit more in advance and obviously try to answer some questions beforehand. Listen, guys, thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye.